locations and everything of the sort. So I can completely understand why uh, they were short on cash and everything during that time. And then, yeah, and with everything leading up to Ginga and then onwards today, that they're starting to use more of like these uh, kind of like dolls, and then I think from uh, which I think they're just mainly the Ultra
Ultra
500
500, I
series
think.
that we've seen over at G Fest and stuff, and I've
I
got
have
some
a
in the
few of
back here.
those. Welcome to Go Go Kaiju Show, where we have a healthy obsession with kaiju. I am your co-host Kent, and with me is your other co-host.
Jason, how's it going, peeps? And that's all. See you later. Just kidding.
So today we are talking about Ultraman Ginga, but before we dive into that mess, Jason, the usual.
Yeah, if you see a subscribe button down below, hit the subscribe button and smash the like button as well. And you can find us on all the following streaming services that you see listed down below. And you can find both video and audio versions of our episodes right on our own website at gogokaijushow.com.
All right, so before we actually dive into discussing this mini-series, I want to share some research that I found. And I'm still, when we start discussing some of the points that at least I will bring up are going to sound ignorant, but that's because I was making those points before I did the research. So as we kind of go along, I will make adjustments where necessary. But otherwise, it's going to sound like I have no idea what I was talking about in terms of context. But that's okay. That's what, you know what? I'm a flawed human being too. So give me some grace.
All of us.
All right. So here's some research. And so this is kind of some history of Ultraman Ginga, some of the production, and then as well as information as to kind of what it led to in subsequent years after it. So that's kind of what my research is generally going to cover here. So Ultraman Ginga, produced obviously by Super Riot Productions, it aired in 2013 as the 17th main Ultraman series show. It was the 26th overall. And it marked the return of a regular Ultraman TV series after a 6-year hiatus since Ultraman Mabius ended in 2007. The show was also created as part of Super Riot's 50th anniversary celebrations, symbolizing a revival of the franchise. And some of the information here next is about the industry during this time. During the late 2000s, the Ultraman brand struggled due to corporate restructuring and ownership changes. The studio had also been sold first to TYO in 2007 and later to Fields Corporation in 2010, drastically altering its corporate structure and production strategy. My gosh, I don't know. As I get older, I swear I'm having more difficulties talking.
It's sort of
Several
like that with me.
Yeah. Several Ultraman projects during this period. What?
I was saying.
Am I going?
What's that? No, I was just talking and saying, that it's also getting hard to speak and stuff when you get older. It's also hard to spell too.
I don't have that problem, but okay. Several Ultraman projects during this period were low-budget experiments or digital channel programs rather than major TV series. And so these next few pieces of notes are kind of about the strategic goal of Ginga, which, I mean, it's a TV series, so duh, as far as what the strategic goal was. And the goal of Ultraman Ginga was essentially to reintroduce the Ultraman brand to television, also to relaunch the franchise for a new generation of viewers, because remember, it had been a while, create a foundation for what became the new generation heroes era of Ultraman shows starting in 2013. So here's some pre-production notes. Because the company had limited resources after restructuring, the creative team designed the show to operate on a very small scale compared to earlier Ultraman productions. That's one thing you will hear me talk about, because I will say in our discussion that to me it definitely seemed smaller scope. It also focused on a small town and a group of young characters rather than large military teams or worldwide threats. The core narrative idea introduced the concept of spark dolls. This is something I will rip the series for. All Ultramen and monsters had been transformed into collectible figures scattered across the universe. Eye roll. The protagonist, Hikaru Raito, uses the Ginga Spark device to restore them and transform into Ultraman Ginga. This idea served multiple purposes. It served as a storytelling mechanic, a toy marketing hook, basically that more than anything else, and a cost-saving device allowing reuse of existing kaiju suits. So here's some of the production, such as budget and scale. Ultraman Ginga is widely regarded as one of the smallest budget Ultraman shows ever produced. That's another thing I'll bring up in discussion. To manage costs, the production team used limited locations, primarily a small town, mountain areas, and a school, structured the school around a small cast of childhood friends rather than large organizations, and produced only 11 episodes split into two halves, 6 episodes, break, and then 5 episodes. This shorter format helped reduce cost and test audience interest. The format and broadcasting of the show. The series aired on TV Tokyo and was part of the programming block New Ultraman Retsuden. Episodes were roughly 30 minutes each. There are, and these are some of the associated films. 2 theatrical specials were produced alongside the show. Ultraman Ginga Theater Special in 2013, which was released between episodes 6 and 7. Ultraman Ginga Theater Special, Ultra Monster Hero Battle Royale. Damn it, Japanese. Can we just stop with the long titles? This was released after the series finale. These help maintain audience interest during the mid-season break. The next pieces of information are on critical and fan reactions. Reception to Ultraman Ginga was mixed but historically important. Common critiques included extremely low production budget and limited scope, few filming locations, and a quote-unquote bottle episode feeling across much of the series. Some longtime fans felt it lacked the scale of classic Ultraman shows. There was some positive reception, however. It was significant because it successfully revived the Ultraman TV franchise after years without a major show. It introduced a new toy line called Spark Dolls that performed well commercially. It laid the groundwork for the new generation Heroes line of shows. The show's momentum quickly led to Ultraman Ginga S in 2014, which is a larger scale sequel series. The historical significance of Ultraman Ginga. Despite its limitations, Ultraman Ginga is considered important because it relaunched Ultraman on television, began the modern era of the franchise, and established a production model used by later shows like Ultraman X, Orb, Geed, dear God, what is wrong with me, and others. In many ways, it functioned as a reboot pilot for the modern Ultraman brand. So in short, Ultraman Ginga was born out of financial limitations and corporate restructuring. It was produced as a small-scale revival project and received mixed reviews. But it ultimately succeeded in restarting the Ultraman television franchise and launching the new generation era. So here are some interesting behind the facts information about the show. The show almost became a sequel to Ultraman Gaia. Early in development, Tsuburaya considered making the series a direct continuation of Ultraman Gaia. The idea was that a group of college students investigating strange phenomena, and that they would be mentored by Gamu Takayama, the protagonist of Ultraman Gaia. But the concept was abandoned. The reasons were it would have been too expensive, and Tsuburaya wasn't sure the time was right for a Gaia sequel. However, one idea survived: an older Ultraman mentoring the younger characters. That's why Ultraman Taro appears as a guide to the heroes in the final show. The budget was exceptionally small. It is widely Ultraman Ginga is widely known among fans as one of the lowest budget Ultra series ever produced. Signs of this were that only 11 episodes were made instead of 40 or 50, very few filming locations, and limited new monster suits. The show reused many older kaiju costumes from earlier Ultraman productions, and the creators had to constantly design the show around what they could afford. The Spark Dolls were created to solve two problems at once. The famous Spark Doll gimmick wasn't just a story idea, it was a financial solution. The studio needed a new cheap merchandise line and a way to reuse old monsters. So they created the concept where all Ultraman and Kaiju had been turned into collectible figures. The hero could revive them using using the Ginga Spark device. This allowed them to reuse existing vinyl toys or sofubi figures, reintroduce dozens of classic monsters without building new suits. Basically, the toy line was the plot. The series deliberately focused on teenagers. Head writer Keiichi Hasegawa wanted the story to resonate with younger viewers, so the main cast became high school seniors and characters about to graduate and decide their future. This idea was that their struggle about dreams in the future would mirror the themes of Ultraman Ginga itself. The miniature sets looked strange for a reason. Some viewers noticed something odd about the show's special effects. Trees and objects sometimes looked too large compared to Ginga. This was due to a production problem because the show was filmed in a school and wooded area. The crew had very few objects to hide the miniature sets, so they had to build props that were unusually large to fill the background. And the show initially wasn't very popular. When it first aired, Ultraman Ginga didn't attract huge attention and was mostly watched by kids. But something interesting happened. When the theatrical special released mid season, the show gained wider recognition and a bigger fan audience. That boost helped convince Tsuburaya that the revival was working. It unintentionally started a new Ultraman era. Ultraman Ginga became the first entry in what fans called the New Generation Heroes era. This era included shows like Ultraman X, Ultraman Orb, Ultraman Geed, and Ultraman Blazar. Without Ginga, this modern revival likely wouldn't have existed. The sequel had a bigger budget. Because Ginga succeeded enough to revive the brand, Tsuburaya produced a follow-up, Ultraman Ginga S, that we talked about earlier. The sequel added a defense team, larger action scenes, more monsters and suits. It basically was the show that they wanted to make originally, but could not afford. So, and the synopsis of the show is basically that our main protagonist, if I can find the damn name,
Hikaru
Hikaru.
Goto.
Hikaru basically goes back to an old high school of his. Weird stuff happens. He is shown by Toy Ultraman Taro that there is the Ginga Spark, which is sort of like a miniature sword that he can put toys on and transform not just into the new Ultraman Ginga, but also he can even turn into defeated kaiju. And so eventually things build up, weird stuff happens, more monsters show up, and eventually we find out that an evil Ultraman type of character called Dark Lugia, I always want to call Dark Luigi, ends up being the show's main antagonist, and of course he's defeated in the final episode. So that's the plot synopsis. I gotta let my cat out here, so Jason, take it away.
Yeah, just when Kent was mentioning as far as the budget being pretty low, like I can definitely understand that now with a limited amount of scenes or what do you call them? Uh, Locations and everything of the sort. So I can completely understand why they were short on cash and everything during that time. And then, yeah, and with everything leading up to Ginga and then onwards today, that they're starting to use more of like these kind of like dolls, and then I think from uh, which I think they're just mainly the Ultra
Ultra
500
500, I
series
think.
that we've seen over at G Fest and stuff. Now I've
I
got
have
some
a
in the
few of
back here.
those.
Yeah, I think I've got some like sitting right over here, and I think maybe a couple. But and then I think from Ultraman X and onwards, they use like some of these collectible kind of coins or cards of the sort. Because I mean, a lot of the stuff, and then like some of the weapons and stuff that you'll see, they're, I mean, kind of commercialized toy lines and all that stuff too. Because when you watch these Ultraman shows on their official YouTube channel or anything of the sort, they'll show like some of these commercials in between, and they'll advertise a lot of these figures and cards and all that stuff. Uh, so nothing of the sort to me. And two, it's kind of like what we've mainly grew up with during the times. I mean, the whole He-Man thing now is entirely made out of the figures and stuff, at least, and then some of the other things back in the '90s. Like a lot of that stuff was all commercialized and kind of selling figures and all that.
I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, yeah, anyone who does any sort of a dive into something like Masters of the Universe understands that that was a toy line first and that the
Along with
cartoon came along
Transformers, yeah.
to help sell the toys. But here's the difference between something like Masters of the Universe and Transformers versus what Ultraman Ginga here is doing. And I want to start off by saying, and I think I've said this numerous times, but in case anyone new is coming in or somehow has forgotten, I haven't seen a whole lot of newer Ultraman shows because the limited exposure I've had to not just some of the newer Ultraman series, but also to newer Kamen Riders or some of the newer Super Sentai type of shows, I have not been a huge fan of because I am not a fan of emo characters, which it seems like a lot of those newer shows seem to have. And yeah, I have noticed that a lot of these newer shows around tokusatsu based programming, which I would argue somewhere starting in the 90s all the way up to the present, have definitely become more toyetic. With all that being said, Ultraman Ginga versus something like Masters of the Universe is blatantly selling you toys because they are actually using them in the show. And I don't know if they did this when they were actually showing on TV in Japan at the time, but and I'm pretty sure you saw it because it's hard to miss when you have the Blu-ray set. At the end, they have the little toy kaiju talking to each other and doing some skit or what
Yeah,
have you.
and it would have been nice, by the way, that they would have had some subtitles during those little things, but they don't for some strange
Yeah,
reason.
Mill Creek, I don't know why they didn't do that with that ending segment. I never understood that because it's like, well, you're already doing the series, but yeah, that's one of the but getting back to the toy part, that's one of the things that really bugs me about Ginga. Because yeah, I can understand wanting to sell toys. I get all that. You know, I have no problem with that. But what I do have a problem with is when you are blatantly using them in your own show, it tells me that, yeah, as we found out through the research here, there really was barely a budget for this thing. But
Hmm.
it also tells me that your writing group just isn't that good. They're not
Yeah.
that creative to where they got to bring in toys. To me, this would be equivalent to something like if Masters of the Universe shows use their own toys to like do stuff within the show.
Yeah. And the other thing that sort of bothered me too, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this about yet, but I think it's probably you probably agree with this, is that one of the other things with there being a limited amount of a budget for this one is that it didn't give the show overall kind of that specific Ultraman treatment of having uh like some sort of uh kind of commanding base or anything of the sort like we've seen in past Ultra franchises or series in the past, uh, where you have like all these military stuff and then some sort of organization and stuff. It's just this. I think this was the one that stood out the most, where it just felt a little bit odd when you're just more or less focused more on these kids in some rural high school, kind of right next to this mountain with this Ginga shrine there. And I know that they were trying to make it more kind of like a kind of religion based sort of thing with this prophecy and everything of the sort, but it I don't know, it just really made the show a little bit odd, and then also not a whole lot of resources and being in the city again. Don't have to go back on that. And it just, with the limited amount of destruction and everything, just didn't quite make it like an Ultraman show.
I was cracking a joke to myself within the first handful of episodes I watched where I go, apparently Japan doesn't have a separation of church and state within their own constitution, because Hikaru's grandfather builds this religious shrine in a school, which is run by the state. So I just kind of found that funny.
Well,
But that
it was
also told
well the shrine. It was the original shrine. I think it was
it
destroyed
burned
by
up.
all these
Yeah.
dolls and everything, and then he had
The
to temporarily
dolls.
move into the school that was next door.
Yeah, but not only did I find that strange, but I quickly realized, very much like what you were just saying, there's no home base, there's no special organization, no military. And again, this was before I did all the research. It did make me believe after a bit. I'm like, this to me did seem like a series that didn't have much of a budget. And that turned out to be true because, and look, I'm not necessarily against trying something new, because look, I am a fan of Godzilla 98. I love that movie because not only did it do things differently from what we're accustomed to seeing Godzilla do, I like the fact too that in my opinion, it did it pretty well too. Because, and again, I've said this many times before, the reason why characters like Godzilla, Batman, Superman, a bunch of superheroes and some other characters like James Bond too, for example, the reason why they endure is because they change things up every so often. So I'm not opposed to that. But even then I thought, okay, there is no military here, because to me it makes sense that you have a giant monster attacking somewhere. The self-defense force should eventually get involved at some point, and they never did. And so I'm like,
Yeah.
there must not have been a budget here for miniatures and all that stuff. And yeah, that turned out to be true.
And then having not as much extras and stuff, because when it comes to the school, was it closed? Was it open? Because you have the main character here sleeping in one of the classrooms of the school, and then you have like some of these
A
supporting
principal
cast,
still hanging around for some fucking reason.
and then you have some of these random supporting cast members kind of off and on, kind of coming into the school and stuff. It's like it just makes you wonder: is there really anything going on with this rural town of the sort?
What's going on with these kids? Like, I assumed, yeah, they were definitely like high school graduates. I mean, our main character certainly was.
Mm-hmm.
And so it made me think, where are their parents? Where are their family? Or what are they doing with their life? And again, I realized early on and it saddens me. I realized early on this particular show, again, was not for me, because it had some of the emo stuff a little bit with some of the characters. And there was teen drama stuff going on. And then early on, too, you had Cameraman farting on Ginga. I talked about it like a couple episodes ago when we discussed something where I said farting jokes and stuff to me are not funny. They have not been funny for years. So I realized, okay, I'm not the target audience. That's fine. But this is part of the reason why I am not attracted to a lot of newer tokusatsu series, because there's emo stuff. Look, let's just call it out. I'm an old man now. Like, you know,
And me officially as of yesterday.
yeah, he turned 40 yesterday. Wish this guy a happy over the hill. But
not as much of an overhill compared to this guy.
only by 1 year. I mean, it's not a big deal. At least I can admit it. But I was gonna grab something, but it's actually out of reach unless I'm gonna like dump everything over here. But I'm very skeptical personally going into these newer shows, because I've said it before. I even told Jason, I said, I just am not much of a fan of this newer stuff. And even our main character, Hikaru, he's one of those poisonously overly positive characters where everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine. And just, hey, we can do things together. And I'm sitting there as an old man going, look, kid, I've lived life long enough. Everything goes to shit. Like,
and then I would like to say that I initially picked up from Ultraman X when this whole new Ultraman generation era sort of kicked off, and this show and Ginga S are the only ones I have not seen yet. Although I haven't really seen the latest two Ultraman shows. I think they're still on the YouTube channel, but these these were the two that I've been wanting to at least see. But so far, the Ginga one is compared to many of the other ones. I think once it gets to Ultraman X, I think it gets much better than but from what I've seen from the preview when I finished this show up a couple or so weeks ago, that at least Ginga S looks pretty promising, because it initially gets into that whole regular Ultraman type of format when they're in a organization, a home base, and all that sort of stuff. So it seems like what you were talking about earlier in the with the whole facts and everything and behind the scenes and stuff, that they increase the budget for the sequel, and then beyond that as well. So at least the sequel to this one looks pretty promising.
yeah, I mean, I had heard a lot of really good stuff about Ultraman X whenever it came out. I want to say that was like, I don't know, 26, whenever it was.
Yeah, 2016. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I started seeing that when Crunchyroll was initially simulcasting some of the Ultraman stuff until a certain point, which was a bit weird. But yeah, it was pretty good as far as I can remember.
Yeah, and one of the things I thought was really weird was that Hikaru, after he kind of defeated the first kaiju, he tended to typically change into the previous kaiju he defeated before turning into Ultraman Ginga. I just thought this was really ridiculous, because Ginga is so much more powerful than those kaiju that he early on, it should have taught him that those kaiju forms just aren't going to work for him. And it just made him look really ridiculous when, for a while,
it just sort
he.
of seemed like that he didn't have enough power or something of the sort to transform into Ultraman Ginga as of yet, until it seemed like he finally figured out just transform straight forward into Ginga, which, yeah, it sort of kind of confused me a little bit, or not confused me, but just kind of scratched my head a little bit on that.
Yeah, and another thing that gets to me about this series, and again, I'm not the target audience, but I got sick of Hikaru and Misuzu flirting and the will they or won't they type of relationship that they had, because it was very obvious they wanted to screw each other. but nothing is resolved about their relationship by show's end. So again, there's
And
bad incomplete writing.
yeah, and speaking of the relationship, I know that like they had some of the episodes where they have some of their like the friends, and then including uh the uh the kind of the main gal there, where they kind of sort of have these emo problems or something of the sort, and then they sort of resolved it. But with the main female of the show, it seemed it like her problems or something just never went away, because kind of towards the
No.
end there, she kind of went this whole emo route and everything, and it seemed like they when they sort of got together again, it's like it just felt like sort of petty type of arguments here and there. Is like, why won't you notice me, senpai, or something of the sort. It's like he's been there for you and everything. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, the series has great potential, and I believe trying to get to the heart of what ails teens. But the problem is that there is never any sort of resolution to that. And I'm not saying that the resolution has to be neat and tidy and feel good, but there's got to be some type of resolution to it. And one of the things that also bugged me, there's a lot of things that bugged me with this series, which is a damn shame because Ginga is my favorite Ultraman in terms of design. They keep talking about dreams and having a dream. Um, okay, so here's what I wrote in my notes. The show becomes obsessed about people having dreams and trying to make them come true, but it never does anything with it other than to tell people to have dreams and to simply work towards them. Then it quickly abandons all of that nonsense to talking about having a future for yourself in the final episode, with nothing of substance to say there either. Again, this is some weak ass attempt by Subarai Productions to say, hey, we did something. In the end, they simply did nothing other than to say, buy our shit. And again, that final part where I say buy our shit, again, clearly tells me what the whole point of the series was about. It wasn't just about Ultraman, it was about selling toys. And they're trying to come off by saying, well, we kind of got some themes here. We got something for the kids to where it's not just us selling toys and about showing violence on screen. We got substance here. We're trying to teach kids, namely teens, about life and go follow your dreams and all that bullshit. It just it's a very shallow series because, like I just said a moment ago, there is no resolution. There's no real deep discovery or discussion or anything in the form of the grand narrative of the show that gives us some form of a resolution.
Yeah, and I just hope too that Ginga asks once I get started, or once we both get started into that, I hope it kind of makes up for all of that's gone wrong with Ginga itself, just to kind of get things back on track and to kind of really make what they were originally trying to go for this entire series, instead of just focusing on high school or college kids, whichever the level that they're on, and just not be in a rural area, because it seems like, as I stated before, that it seems like that the Ginga S show looks to be pretty promising from what I've seen in the previews.
I and I know I've said this before, but again, I want to say it again. What scares me about us covering more modern day tokusatsu shows and films, especially the shows, is that I'm going to find a lot of these to be unenjoyable because if this 90210 style of storytelling permeates most of the recent shows, and I know it does for quite a few, I'm going to hate a lot of these because, as I said earlier, a lot of these more recent shows tend to be very melodramatic with their actors, who a lot of them are like teens or young adults. And it just, even if I was a teen, I would not buy into this stuff. Because I remember when I was in my teens and you would see like Disney Channel stuff for built around kids who were around our age. I didn't watch that stuff because I hated it. Because to me, it was.
I didn't watch. I didn't watch the Disney Channel stuff during that
I
time
went through
as
it
well.
because
So
I was flipping through channels and I just kind of would hate watch a few things. It's like right now, I personally hate watch This Is Us because that's a fucking awful show. If you haven't seen it, it is intended to try to make you emotional, and in it, indulge me for a moment, folks. The main actor is Mila Ventimiglia, whom I first saw in the movie Rocky Balboa. He plays Rocky Jr.
oh yeah, that
And
guy.
I have come to honestly not like his acting because he was in this awful show. I mean, you have to watch it. But anyways, actually don't watch it. but, um,
It's too late now.
but back to Ultraman Ginga. This scares me, dude. Like, I don't look, I'm 41 years old and I understand I'm not the target audience for a lot of the newer stuff, but I just have a bad feeling that as we cover more and more of the more recent line of shows, whether it's Ultraman, Kamen Rider, you name it, I am going to be that old man yelling at clouds type of
Well,
person.
like I said, once it gets to Ultraman X and then onwards, I think it's gonna get better from here because this one it's sort of the oddball out of the
That's
whole
an understatement.
Ultraman New Generation era.
Well, here, I got something nice to say about Ginga. I do think the monster suits look fantastic. And even though some of them are reused, they look fantastic. I will say
Yep,
that.
that's the one good thing about it.
Yeah, and I do. Oh, and I kind of glossed over this a little bit ago. I do like the new Ultraman suit look. It's my favorite. It's a damn shame the show sucks. I mean, that's what I don't know
And
if you remember
also
this, but on my Facebook profile for a while at one point a few years ago, my profile picture was Ultraman Ginga. And I was like, oh, I can't wait to see this. And then I actually see it for the first time as we're covering it for this podcast. And I'm going, oh no, of course something I like sucks.
and also I would say at least the one good thing, even though you're sort of bashed it and all that stuff, is that at least we get quite a bit of the Ultraman 500 series as far as the amount of figures that comes with.
Commercialism kills storytelling because, again, like I said earlier, when one of your main objectives for a show is to literally sell toys and actually put them in your show like this. And look, again, we talked about Masters Universe and Transformers, but again, those shows were never as blatant about selling stuff because they never used them. They never did anything of that sort. And I will go to my grave arguing that shows like MOTU and Transformers had really good storytelling to them. The animators and production houses that got these properties and turned them into series were not sitting there like, okay, let's really just make this a toy commercial where He-Man even pulls out an own action figure of himself, puts it on his power sword, and says, "By the power of Grayskull." You know, they didn't do anything like that. They, in fact, in many ways, the production houses such as Filmation, and I forget who did Transformers here. I can't quite see the company name, but whoever got those, like Filmation did it, Masters of the Universe, the people at Filmation helped, along with the creators from Mattel, create kind of the lore of MOTU, and Filmation, even more so than Mattel, helped create the lore of MOTU, because they didn't want to go in and just say, buy this shit. They said, no, we need to create a story. We need to create background for these characters. What is the overall premise? What's the ultimate goal of both our heroes and our villains? What are they both after? And they created dynamic stories. That isn't here. And again, it goes to explaining why the budget was exceptionally tiny for this. And it also goes to basically saying, look, because their budget is tiny, and we know if you buy our shit, that's going to give us more money. And then therefore, if that is successful, we can make more of these. Storytelling is going to go by the wayside. And it did. I have never, and I've seen many shows over the course of my 41 years. I have not seen anything so blatantly toyetic in its storytelling than Ultraman Ginga here. And I think, look, I have other problems with this series. We've already talked about a few of them. But I think those pale in comparison to them basically, here's my sword, here's my toy. Yeah! Like, let's go, man. No. And I need a good story. And a good story does not mean you give me some sort of little plastic device that my kids can go buy at the nearest Target along with the toys, and then that's it. No, that's not storytelling. That is just some glorified commercial is what it is. There's no real story here, because what is here is not just a toy commercial. It's terrible. There's a lot of loose strands. There are a couple themes of like, have your dreams, but work for them. Oh, gee, thanks. Like, even a 5-year-old already knew that, you dumb shits, because you bring nothing to the table of substance. Subaraya Productions, fuck you for this series, man. Like, I am so angry about this series, because shows like this Ultraman, the OG Ultraman, that was some good shit, because there was story. There were characters, there was substance, there were themes that they built on and actually gave you a resolution to. Not everything was cheery and happy, but there was a resolution to it. Here, you're selling toys. Fuck you.
Should we go to final thoughts and rating? Although it seems like you already kind of went into your final thoughts.
I didn't mean to kind of do that, but I mean, I got a ton of notes here still that we haven't even touched upon. Like Gene Killer. What kind of a name is that for a mech? Gene Killer. What is that, Bleach? Is that what that's supposed to mean? Is your mech Bleach?
Speaking of, was it emo characters and stuff? What about I think it was, his name was Kenta Watari, who did the Gene Killer, or control Gene Killer.
Plus, let's just call it out too. Gene Killer had a penis laser. Who thought that was a good idea? He had a penis laser. I thought it was kind of funny, but I'm like, what the hell is this? I mean, is he jizzing the monster to death? Is that how we got Jizz Wolf from Kamen Rider? That there's some sort of crossover event that I missed?
I guess so. Some kind of coincidence.
For those who are not familiar with Jizz Wolf, that's a Kamen Rider reference that from when we covered that. Like, I know, and look, I apologize for the foul language and stuff here, because some of you may not like it because of your poor virgin ears, but I am so sick of this particular series. There was so much potential here. There were moments of it. There were nuggets of it. And they pissed it all away. Okay, so we didn't have the budget. Do you think then it's a good idea to go forth with a series like this? But we're afraid people are going to forget Ultraman. Dude, you had a lot of shows. Do some other stuff and kind of pool some money together until you have enough money to do something.
Yeah, that's why I was going to say that. I mean, they had a 6-year hiatus. They could have at least saved up budget wise to make a proper show for the 50th anniversary.
Right. I mean, again, to just kind of talk about how terrible the writing is, Dark Lugiel. I mean, they pulled
Or
the stupid
Lugia.
stunt. Yeah, Dark Loogie. Like they pulled the stunt where you don't see the main villain until the final episode. And he looks cool, but he's a very pathetic villain because there's no backstory. There is no backstory. And we got this vision of him fighting a bunch of kaiju and Ultraman during the opening credits of each episode, but we don't get any expansion on that. And what is his ultimate goal? To simply destroy Ginga because Ginga trapped him.
and how
This
he
is
got
so dumb.
defeated by people singing. Pretty much.
Fuck this show, man. I've taken piss with greater storylines than this. That's all you got, Subaraya. I know this is what I'm angry because I've seen you do better. Again, right here on my shirt. That is evidence you've done something better. You are capable. Okay. This is like seeing my son being able to create some sort of absolute masterful craft at home, but then he's asked to do something similar for a school project and then he turns out half-baked shit. Yeah, I'm going to be angry because I know I've seen him do better. That's me. I am your parent, Subaraya. I've seen you do better and I expect you to do better. I am fine with some of the bones you have of this series, but where you go with it and what you actually end up doing with it is just awful. I don't think I'll ever watch the series again. You know what? I wanted to talk more about this, but I'm just getting more and more angry as we go along here.
Yeah, that's why
Let's
we
just
should
go
probably
into-
go into our final thoughts and grade.
I really thought we were going to have more of a discussion on this, but the more we keep talking about it and the more I am just realizing like
I kind of figured that the way that you were talking to me about it a couple or so weeks ago is like this is probably not going to take too terribly long, even though it's about 50 minutes.
I
into this.
wanted to have more discussion. We've had a little bit of that here, but I keep remembering stuff and I am just realizing, I mean, if we weren't covering this for a podcast to discuss, I would have quit after the first few episodes and I would have never returned after that, but I kept going. And those are how many hours of my life
episode 2.
I had to. I can't have a discuss, even though, yes, I am basically, pissing all over the thing here. Like, I need to come in prepared knowing what the full scope of everything was, because I am not going to cheat you and our listeners out of this, because I think they deserve to at least know the full story, even though I, again, am pissing all over this thing.
Well, it's
But
kind of
it
like
makes me so
Kamen.
angry that
It's kind of like Kamen Rider could have just at least cheated on that one, because after episode 21 or whatever, it was pretty much the same throughout.
Despite all that, though, like Kamen Rider, even though most of it was mediocre after that point, it had more substance than what was happening here. Yeah, it was incredibly formulaic, and it was I could tell you exactly what was going to happen and where it was going to happen in every episode.
And
but
then,
at least
what
it had
move's gonna
something.
end these cyborgs and everything?
Yeah, and it just, to everyone who was hoping for maybe a little bit more substance to this, I apologize, but my ultimate, before we even get into final thoughts, my ultimate belief and opinion on the show is this: simply don't watch it, because it is literally in the show itself selling you toys, and there's hints of themes and stuff there, but nothing is ever resolved other than the big bad guy. It's like, oh, what the fuck do?
And then high school, college drama or angst.
But again, nothing is really resolved. There's nothing there of substance to talk about, like relationship issues, or if you're stuck trying to find a career or a dream in your life, how do you go about that other than to just simply say, hey, work for it? Oh, gee, thanks. Thanks a lot. Like, this show will infuriate you. There are significantly better Ultraman shows out there that just are better. Stay away from this one. But anyways, did you want to go first? Give me a
Uh,
moment to like calm my blood pressure.
yeah, I suppose. Yeah, with the show, kind of like what Ken said, it's not really worth your time. I would just say just maybe a couple episodes. That would be it, because that kind of pretty much sums everything up right then and there, and then just go straight into Ultraman Ginga as whatever our grades and thoughts are going to be on that entire series once we get around to that in the next couple of weeks. Uh, yeah, the visual effects, they could have been better here. Of course, the suits for Ultraman Ginga and any of the monsters involved in this show are probably the highlight of the show. Other than that, just a lot of high school or college drama, angst, and just being in a rural setting in Japan. It just kind of doesn't feel right, and then also just uh, missing the base or the kind of that specific organization that we've seen for pretty much majority of the Ultra series here is gone. It's not there at all. It just doesn't really feel right as a main Ultraman show here, and just not a whole lot of destruction. I mean, it's based on a mountainside here, so you're not going to really see much of destruction except for maybe like a barn or a tree or something
Godzilla
here
versus
and there.
Megalon and Godzilla's Revenge had more destruction than this whole series.
It, yeah, and then just the final showdown and stuff. It was not quite what you think it was going to be. Yeah, the story is just
Unsatisfying.
sort of all over the place and just kind of rehashes things over and over again within the span of a few episodes when it should have been wrapped up in one episode prior. It just sort of kept certain things going. It's just one of those ultra shows, and it's probably pretty rare, as far as I can remember, for me anyways, that it's something that you don't really need to watch. Just go straight into Ginga S, whatever. Uh, how much we're gonna enjoy that one, we'll wait and see in the
God,
next
I
couple of weeks.
look. Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'll say it here.
Yeah, I'm not done yet.
I didn't.
Wait your
Yeah,
turn.
it gave me a thought.
uh, so with that, as far as the rating for this one, uh, what was that one acronym that we had for one of the ones? Was it FAR or something of the
I think it
sort?
was GFA.
GFA. Got fucking awful.
I mean, that's my rating. I mean, I don't think that's I'm not sure if GFA was the actual one, but it pretty damn close. We'll just say that.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone knows where I sit here. I just want to say, like, the one thing that you reminded me of, um, here just a moment ago, I don't go into these series or movies or whatever, looking forward to disliking them. And unfortunately, more times than not over the last year and a half, we have run into a lot of garbage, unfortunately. But yes, as we've gone along, I have apologized to shows like Kamen Rider that even though Kamen Rider is still a deeply flawed series, as we've gone along to cover such things as Shit Kamen Rider or Shin
Yeah.
Kamen Rider, and
I
even
want. I
Ginga,
want to.
that series is better than all those.
I want to ask you one thing. Would you apologize to Spectre Man this time around?
Oh yeah. I mean, I thought though I gave it a okay grade if I remember. Like
I think it
I
was
think I
maybe a
gave it like a
D,
C minus. I
a
think I
D or
gave it like a
C
C
something.
minus or a D plus
I think
overall.
it's a D or C somewhere around there.
It's still not bad. It's not like, this and Shin Kamen Rider. Excuse me, but okay, here's what I wrote. And again, this is before I did all the research. First, I have to say this particular show, and I fear many of the tokusatsu shows from the late 80s, early 90s forward, was not made for me. Oh, to finish my one thought, um, I really do hope that a lot of the newer stuff we do cover is stuff that I will enjoy because I don't take any glee out of watching something like Ginga and absolutely hating it. I don't. And the reason why I am so animated when I find something that I hate like this in Shin Kamen Rider is because I just am absolutely shocked and appalled that this was a product. And like I've said, when we discuss Ginga here and when we talked about Shin Kamen Rider last year, I have legitimate reasons for disliking this particular stuff. And we've already discussed it. Like I said, the main thing for me here is that there's no story and it was literally about selling toys. But back to my final thoughts here. It was made more for a younger audience. However, that's not going to prevent me from probably being more harsh on it than some believe I should, because it is my job here to try and be as objective as possible. I will do my best to be fair and strongly believe I have a good track record of being as such. In other words, this is shitty. With all that being said, I will continue by saying I cannot respect a show whose writers and producers do not respect the viewers. Super Riot Productions should be exceptionally ashamed of this monstrous pile of kaiju shit. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think such an iconic studio of a popular IP would stoop so low as this. I think my problem anymore is going into a series or a movie thinking it's going to be something amazing or at least good. I had high hopes for, at least good, excuse me. I had high hopes for this series given how Showa era Ultraman had turned out to be, while not perfect but charming and entertaining. My first foray into a modern Ultraman series gave me a glorified toy commercial with melodramatic and incomplete teen drama. The commercialization here is so bad that I would be shocked if the show's target audience didn't notice that it was blatantly as such. I've heard complaints from folks over the years about shows like G.I. Joe and Masters of the Universe being vehicles to sell toys. While true, none of these shows were so obvious about selling their toys as Ultraman Ginga is by actually using the toys in the damn show itself. You also have the Ginga and Dark Sparks, as well as the G9 gun pad. It also comes off as Ginga barely showing up in his own series. There is romantic tension here between Hikaru and Misuzu early in the series, but nothing becomes of it. There is this god awful theme about the teens having dreams and wanting to fulfill them. I thought by show's end there would be some lesson to be taken from this. Instead, by episode 11, it's clear that the message to our young target audience is to have dreams and to work towards them. That's it. Then there's some garbage about having a future that is even more muddled than the dreams theme. Guess how that turns out? Absolutely nowhere. Then you have the show's villain. Well, sort of. I mean, the show always hints at one at the beginning of each episode via the opening credits, but we don't get said villain until the final episode. He's pretty cool, right? I mean, he looks cool, but is he menacing? Fuck no. Seriously, who is this Dark Lugiel? Where does he come from? Why were all the Ultramen fighting Kaiju? Why did he show up during that fight? Why did he turn all of them into dolls? Why does he specifically hate Ginga? I mean, I can speculate that Ginga originally defeated him, and that's why he's pissed. But the show never shows or even tells us. He's just bad because the writers said he is. Nothing more, nothing less. Give me something, anything. It doesn't have to be anything original or extensive. Just give me a villain with a modus operandi and a teeny tiny backstory. But I guess that's too much to ask for from a vomit-induced show as this. You know what this show is? Disappointing. That's right. I use the D word. I could
Oh
continue down
no!
this Helen. What?
I said, "Oh no, the D word."
I could continue down this hell-infested road that leads me into a dark abyss of soul-crushing demons, but I have basically said what needs to be said of this sorry excuse for an Ultra series. I can't help but to think Eiji Tsuburaya himself would be disappointed in this crap. As for my grade, I am reminded of a Boy Meets World episode where Corey is to make a presentation to Mr. Feeney. When Feeney asks Corey a series of questions that Corey can't properly answer, Feeney gives him an incomplete. Corey, astonished, tells Mr. Feeney that an incomplete is worse than an F. He's right. Ultraman Ginga is an incomplete. There was so much potential here, and it was wasted to blatantly sell toys. It traded its storytelling potential for cash, and it clearly shows. I fear for what may come as we traverse this road of modern-day tokusatsu shows, but I will try to keep an open mind about them. For now, though, Bandai 90210, I mean Ultraman Ginga, is lower than whale shit.
So a GFA.
Yes. Or an
And
incomplete.
And before we end this, got another thing as far as toys go. So for those of you who have not seen the YouTube short that I released about was it a week or two ago, this is what Kent sent me via mail here. It's the Cybot Godzilla Bandai and stuff. So that's kind of what it looks like. Was it about a it looks like a 6-inch figure there. It kind of has the resemblance of the Cyber Godzilla, especially in the face there and everything. I kind of thought it would be a little bit bulkier, kind of around the waist area, because from what we've seen as far as the full shot of the Cybot Godzilla, I think it was a little bit bulky in a way, but I mean,
The Cybot, when you look at production photos, was always slimmer than
yeah,
the actual suit.
yeah, I wasn't too terribly sure, but other than that, the sculpt and the paint job on this is pretty good. Kind of get everything as far as the detail and particularly the head, because the way that the head looks, it looks almost exactly like it in a way when you see it in person and this such. So it's a pretty good sculpt from Bandai.
Yeah, I told Jason about it. I said, hey, Godzilla.com has this. And he goes, $35 for a figure, that's expensive. So then I'm like, I'm going to buy it for him because Return of Godzilla is his favorite Godzilla movie. I'm like, he's got to have this.
Yeah. Yeah, for some reason your video feed is really lagging there from what
Well,
I'm
you had
seeing.
paused for about 15 seconds on my end, like 2 minutes ago. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I
because
don't
I'm
know.
not even seeing your lips or anything moving right
Oh,
now.
that's
It's
weird.
like it's really going frame by frame here.
Oh,
So hopefully the video feed hopefully kind of smooths everything out. But otherwise, we're kind of pretty much at the end.
yeah. I mean, both you and I, at least on my end, are moving fine. Like I can see you move just fine. But yeah, I mean, again, I just want to remind everybody for the umpteenth time because we seem to hit like an awful stretch here, which is terribly unfortunate. I don't go in to something like Ginga or even Shin Kamen Rider to hate it. I don't. I love this genre. I love tokusatsu. I love a lot of this Japanese sci-fi stuff. Yeah, some of it isn't for me, and that's totally fine. But I cannot forgive just self-indulgence in things like Shin Kamen Rider or something like an Ultraman Ginga, where it is just a blatant toy commercial with no real story and nothing to help its target audience with themes that it itself brings up at various points in the series. Because I know a company like Subaraya is capable of producing good to great work. I've seen it. I've seen a number of older Ultraman shows and what have you, and I love that stuff. I think it is fun and great storytelling. It's very charming as well. And unfortunately, for something like Ginga, it has none of that. It just doesn't. And
Hmm.
it pains me to say that. That's why I'm so passionate about this, because I know Subaraya Productions can do better because I've seen them do it. And it concerns me again for the 10 billionth time about a lot of this newer stuff, because I've seen bits and pieces of different shows over the years, and I'm just deeply concerned that a lot of the newer stuff just is not going to have some of that good writing and that charm that we saw in a lot of the older stuff. So that's what I am fearful of as we continue to cover a lot of these newer shows.
Hmm.
But I hope you're right, Jason. I mean, yeah, even my research said that Ginga S is going to be larger scale, that it does bring back organizations. I've been yelling so much, my throat's getting itchy. Um, it's got larger scale um, settings. It's also got higher stakes. So I really do hope that this brings something. I'm not saying I want more of the same like what I got from original Ultraman. I don't mind trying new things. I think Ginga would have worked out had they not been so focused on selling toys. If they had been more focused on actually telling a story, because it's only 11 episodes. I mean, this technically is a mini series, it's not a series. Like, if they were more focused on telling a story, I more than likely could have gone along with it.
Hmm.
But they didn't give a shit. And if they don't give a shit, then why should I give a shit? In fact, I will
Yeah.
take a shit on this shit, because this was disappointing. I'm about to cry here.
If
I
I could
just
see you with your
if
video feed just really lagging.
Yeah, if there was one thing that I had always up until now, let me start that all over again. There was one thing I had always sort of believed, that Subaraya Productions could do better than somebody like a Toei, for example. And that was that even as we went into these newer, more contemporary versions of a character like Ultraman versus like Super Sentai, I had always thought that Subaraya Productions favored general storytelling over, selling toys and melodramatic soap opera garbage, unlike what I saw from bits and pieces of Super Sentai and various other like ninja heroes. And when I came into Ginga and I saw what took place, I was just shocked, because I thought Subaraya was better. I thought they would not stoop so low, and they did. And it's got me concerned that even though, yes, according to Jason, that is not something that is consistent moving forward, I deeply hope that is true. And I hope too that even a show like Mabius, which came before this, is not similar as well. I generally like Ultraman. I love Ultraman. If I didn't, I wouldn't be wearing an Ultraman shirt, and I have like two others in my closet here. I love this stuff. And what they did here to me was beneath them, but yet they went there. And that saddens me. That angers me, because I know they can do better. So
Mhm.
in 2 weeks, we will cover Ginga S, and we will see if whether or not I have a repeat of this.
And see if your video feed is working out, because now it just froze on
Again,
my
it's
end.
fine on my end. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Maybe the storm. We got that big storm rolling through the
Well,
region.
yeah, because we've got a blizzard here already started about an hour ago because I can already see some snow on the ground here.
Well,
So
yeah,
that
by like 8
probably
o'clock
affected it.
tonight in our area is when we're supposed to start seeing stuff.
Yeah. But at least it looks like by the end of the week it's going to get better here temp-wise. So.
We've had 6 bad storms come through our area in like 2 weeks. I'm so sick of this garbage already. It's not even spring.
Yeah.
It
At
just
least, yeah, like by the end of this week it's going to get in the high 60s, and even was it one of the days going to get 76. So
bring on the air
hopefully
conditioning.
yeah, just hopefully it'll start being more consistent. Then
I just want to get rid of the storms. I'm sick of them.
yeah, yeah. For me, after Christmas, it's like I'm done with snow. That's about it.
For me, we have barely had any snow up here. We had that big Arctic cold for a while, yeah, but we haven't had like the snow. For me, I would take the snow over the stupid rain anytime. God, like, all these storms are as bad as Ginga.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Anyways, let's
bringing
just
it around to Ginga.
yes. I think we beat him up a bit too much now. So.
Not enough. I know it's a meaty pulp, but it's not enough.
All right.
Don't watch it.
That's all you got to do. Pretty much just go straight into Ginga S forever, if that's going to be good or not.
I hope this was entertaining nonetheless. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in a couple weeks for hopefully a better outing.
Yeah, and again, if you see the subscribe button down below, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well as smash the like button. And you can subscribe to us on any of the streaming platforms that you see listed down below there. And we've got both video and audio versions of our episodes right on our own website at gogokaijushow.com.
Thank you for tuning in.
And
Sorry.
we'll see you guys next time.